Round 9 of the European Touring Car Championship from Zolder in Belgium. Often in Belgium, the championship has been settled in the past. It's always a circuit that tends to spring surprises. Here, on the short twists and turns of this circuit, BMW could be expected to have a chance. But nevertheless, the power of the Fords may very well tell. It's a critical race in the championship. BMW can't take the championship here, but they can get pretty close to it. And Ravaglia knows this. Because though Ford have won a number of races, Monza, Estoril, Jarama, Dijon, Vallelunga and the Nürburgring, BMW have also had their share of outright wins. There was a surprise early in the season when they won at Donington Park, and Spa perhaps not such a big surprise. But Ravaglia has been victorious in his class on virtually every time out, and thus has that championship within his grasp on 279 points from Pierre Dieudonné's 267. Soper on 250, Van der Poel 195, Niedewitz 180 and Ludwig 177 are the people behind. This is how they line up at Zolder. Pole position then, Ludwig and Niedewitz. Next to him, Hanna and Obendorfer with the Wolf Sierra. Soper and Dieudonné, third fastest. Biler and Brancatelli, fourth fastest in the third of the Texacos. Grice and Percy with the Nissan next up. Poele, Hager and Ravaglia. The Schnitzer BMWs with Pirot driving alongside Ravaglia, hopefully in car number 56. Then Martin and Vogt, Jabouille driving with Lafitte, Calderari, Brossard and Sienna, Tassin and Androuet, Müller, Holtz and Streichek, Bornebusch, Larsen, Müller, Streichek and Feitler and Kramer the top 15. Warming up the brakes there is Steven Soper, and that's the car directly in front of us. As we come round, the pace car is off, the race is on. And Ludwig is going into the lead. Ludwig with Hanna alongside him. Soper just outpowering Biler. And the Nissan we can see on the inside there as we go outside with more Fords aplenty. The Toyotas tucking in behind. And this is the first lap from in-car. Grice again. Fords first, second and third. Nissan fourth. The order is still very much in front. The number 1 Ford of Klaus Ludwig. Second place Armin Hanna. Third place Steve Soper. On go the brakes, and the handling of the Nissan is just as good as the Fords, that they obviously lack a little bit of straight line speed. The actual grunt of the Fords threw some cement dust there from a previous race that's thrown up on the road. Under braking, down a couple of gears, very evenly spaced that quartet, and then the BMWs. And that looks to me as if that's a very good start for one of the Schnitzer cars, and almost certainly that's Emmanuel Pirot in front of Frank Biler. And these tight chicanes, which were added to the circuit a couple of years or so ago, make life very difficult indeed. Lots of low gear work up and down through the box, and heavy braking as well. And it's Van der Poel. Van der Poel up behind the Nissan, so the two camera cars, in fact, travelling nose and tail, and you can see, in fact, that he is in 5th place behind the 3 Fords and the Nissan. Very much the home ground for Van der Poel. Up through the box. I didn't check to see whether that car was running with 6-speed box. That's 4 of them, that's 5 of them. Almost certainly he is running with 6 speeds. So it looks as if he is running with a 6-speed box, which is the latest tweak on the M3 BMW. Past goes the third of the Fords, that's Frank Biler. Third of the Eggenberger Fords. That's Thierry Tassin coming up tight behind there, going past what is almost certainly, I think, Jean-Pierre Jabouille. Back inside the Nissan. Grice doing the driving and staying with the 3 Fords. Soper has not made much impression on Hanna over the last couple of laps. And the sky is still looking fairly bright. And in a straight line, it's fairly obvious that the Nissan has got plenty of power. He hasn't lost as much ground as he has been losing down that particular little bit, but it's torque where this car really does go extremely well, and the chassis is good, as you can see. Quite a smooth ride. down through the box. Loads of power on. And if anything, Alan Grice looks very much a contender. Very much a contender here. So the Australian, in his second season in the ETC, did 1986. Didn't do anything at all in the World Touring Car Championship, but has come back with a vengeance this year. And a very, very competent driver. Won Bathurst in 86, of course. And shows scant regard for the gearbox. Knows how to get on with the job. So changes down where he's banging it through. Nice smooth changes up. A leading Ford. Second place and third place. So Ludwig leads with the Fords of Hana and Soper next up. Then the Nissan, then Poele. Then still Van der Poel with Thierry Tassin closing on him. Try and conserve things a bit. Back inside the BMW. You can see that the lead that the others have got on him is quite a substantial one. Eric Van der Poel, a very, very smooth driver. It'll be interesting to compare his style with that of whoever takes this over. I don't think it'll be Ravaglia. Ravaglia is due to take over the Pirot car. And there is the number 52, Bigazi BMW, and you can see that that is closing up on Pirot, and that's Pirot. Pirot with a problem, and he gets bunted in the back there by Jean-Pierre Jabouille. So Pirot had an engine go by the look of it there, because he stopped very rapidly. Jabouille, with those injured feet from Grand Prix racing about, what, 8 or 9 years, who pulled out in a most amazing fashion, and here is Van der Poel. So the BMW going well. You can see how the light is changing as the sun comes in and out with these clouds. Whoops, Van der Poel gets sideways, he's on the grass. Van der Poel driving down the grass, loses 1-2 places. And that was a rare sight of a driver in real trouble there. Van der Poel obviously went in a bit too quickly. Controlled the car well, avoided what could have been a disaster for the Schnitzer team with one car we know that's out of the race. And this is the car that will be taken over by Roberto Ravaglia. So Ravaglia will be driving this car later in the race. And Frank Poele is through, or is he? No, it's Armin Hana, who is still ahead of Soper, and Frank Poele has lost a bit of ground to the Nissan. And here is that shot in cab again with Alan Grice, as Soper finds a way through there. That was a bit tight. Inches between the two Fords there. Soper up to second place. Hana third, Grice fourth, Poele fifth. And I think it's Thierry Tassin now who came up as a result of that off-the-road excursion we saw that Eric Van der Poel had a lap or so ago. Now it may be Martin who is next up there. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that one works itself out. Jean-Michel Martin, but we're watching now Armin Hana having a few more problems, and they're called Alan Grice. And that was a strange place to break. Almost got himself clouted up the back end there by the Nissan. And space on the inside, whoops, no there wasn't, and they meet. There was a definite touch there as Grice corrected his car. Armin Hana recovers to take the place back again, having got knocked sideways there by the Nissan. European Touring Car Championship is supposed not to be a contact sport, but it certainly became one there. Alan Grice looking for the space that wasn't there and being held up at the time by Armin Hana, but not held up by this man, Klaus Ludwig in the lead. Soper now in second place, so it's Eggenberger cars first, second, Armin Hana third, and in fourth place still the Nissan. Gets the choice of car. Back in car with the Nissan, and we can still see ahead of him there is Armin Hana, but Hana being gobbled up once again. The Nissan very, very quick into and out of that particular corner. and still gaining ground, and this is where you may recall Armin put his brakes on before. Now Alan Grice about to have another go, goes for the inside. This time it's a clean pass and he's through. So Alan Grice into third place, waves Armin Hana. I think that was a purely racing incident where they met on the previous time that situation occurred and the two cars clipped. But now we've got to see whether or not the Nissan can pull in the Ford that's in second place. Now, if you look in the distance through the windscreen of the Nissan, you will see that we've got a clutch of slower cars, and there is the Ford in the distance ahead of them. This is a shoal of Toyotas. They tend to run round like this. They're almost like shoals of fish. They're all very evenly matched. They're all quite difficult to get past on times because they're so busy dicing with each other they don't see faster cars coming up. And because they're front-wheel drive, they sometimes do rather odd things in comparison to the way in which a rear-wheel drive car will act in the same situation. But Alan has gone through those. So the race positions: Klaus Ludwig leads, Steven Soper second, Grice third, Beiler fourth, Hana fifth, Martin in sixth place ahead of Tassin. That settles that argument, doesn't it? Then Tassin, seventh place with the yellow Ford, and now we've got the Nissan closing in on the Ford, who's having some problems with the back marker there. And here is Steven Soper under pressure from Alan Grice. And this is the sort of racing that we've been waiting to see the Nissan capable of doing as he comes on the outside of Steve Soper, and Soper closes the door. And you can see Soper getting out of line. You can see how hard he's trying there. Soper right out of position there, but making it quite impossible for Grice to come through on the inside. That was a deliberate and perfectly permissible thing done by Steven Soper, who was making Grice go the long way round. Can't afford to do it here. Now Grice goes for the inside. And they're side by side as they come out. We've lost the Ford, and I think the Ford is back behind. The Ford in the straight line, however, may very well come up alongside, and Alan's on the right-hand side of the road. The Ford, I'm sure, is just ahead of him there. Yes, there is Soper, taking the position back again. And Soper, really roused up by that, has turned up the boost a little bit and bulleted off into the distance. I don't think he can turn up the boost, actually, but he's used everything he's got to get off there. Here is Grice, bunging the lock on the front tyres there, taking a fair bit of hammer. Yokohama's on the Nissan. Poele's on the Ford. There. And there is number 51. And that, of course, is the Jean-Michel Martin car with the sole surviving Schnitzer car, which was ahead of it at one time. And the meat in that sandwich is Thierry Tassin's Ford. Marcus, and here's the rain. It is starting to rain. It is all over the screen of the Nissan, which is right on the tail of Steve Soper. They're all on dry tyres. So it's all going to get very exciting now. Feeling for adhesion. Soper going past a Rover there, which we've not seen before. And here is Soper, altering his line. Alan Grice feeding the power on and doing so very carefully. That would be the Michel Manien car, the Rover that was passed there, but the rain not too bad at the moment, the track not really wet, but there's enough of it there to, I would think, have the pits now working overtime. Now, people who know this circuit say that if it rains, you head for the pits straight away. You don't sit out and hope it'll get better, because the surface here and everything else as well makes it very, very difficult indeed in the wet. And you can see that that rain is coming down quite a bit faster, and now we've got a really wet track. A very wet track. Soper puts his brakes on very early there. At the inside, bang! Grice has hit Soper. Grice has hit Soper. And Soper is still on the outside there. Grice is in a slide. He's hit them again. He's still trying to straighten that car. You can see him going from lock to lock, and that's sliding in front of the Toyota 122. I think Grice clipped that. He certainly hit the Ford again in the midst of all that. 122, Pierre Firmin. And judging by the sound, I think we've got a mudguard rubbing on the wheel. There is a BMW literally crawling along, no adhesion at all. That's the red car we saw past Ludwig leads from Soper, Grice, Hana, Weiler, Martin and Tassin. That was just before the rain. And here is Eric van der Poel. And he is coming in to change onto wet tyres. So Van der Poel, the Belgian, has made his decision, and this could be a very important factor in this race. The Schnitzer boys under Charlie Lamb working on the job. He's staying behind the wheel. Ravaglia has not yet chosen to take over, but he's only got this car that he can take over. Please clean the screen. Stop the wipers. Start the engine. Hang that for a lark. Get on with it. So out goes Eric van der Poel on a very wet track. And the Fords have certainly got themselves in trouble, we know. And as the order begins to unfold in a moment or two, we'll sort out who's done what with which and to whom. There's a car stationary on the grass there. I couldn't see who that was, but he's obviously stood off coming into the chicane there. There is the Nissan with bits hanging off it and a dent in the door. And I can't think it's going to be very long before Alan Grice decides to go into the pit road. I think this is it. I think the decision is taken. Here is Alan Grice. He can see very little. You can see that the mess on the screen and the demisting side, of course. You can see here at the end of the pit road, there is the Klaus Ludwig car, which is still waiting to go out. There's the pace car coming through with the BMW of Eric van der Poel, who made that tyre stop. So did Thierry Tassin with number 14 Ford. So this is the new leader. Now the lights are off on the pace car, on the top of it. So he's being waved by, and this is the new leader. Eric van der Poel, BMW number 56, is the new leader. He made that quick stop. He's had his moment. We saw him go on the grass earlier on. Behind him is Thierry Tassin, another Belgian in the Ford Sierra. He also made a quick stop as well for tyres. And the first of the Fords, the other Fords, the Eggenberger Fords, is the Klaus Ludwig car. And that, when it comes out of the pits, by our reckoning, will be down in around about third place. Steve Soper's car, we know, had that incident with Alan Grice, and we're told that the oil cooler on that car received a fairly hefty blow. So it remains to be seen whether that car can continue to run or not. But here is Eric van der Poel, and he's got loads of empty track, but it's very slippery out there. As you can see, he's feeling it into a corner, down through the box, locks it over there, front end slides away, out comes the tail. The moment he puts the tail out of line, he's correcting it, being very, very careful with the amount of power that he applies. Coming in on trail, he's on a bit of acceleration, out comes the tail again. Opposite lock to balance it. Down another gear, down another gear, down another gear. Lock it over, little bit of power, out comes the tail. Up a gear, on the curb, off it again. Through this one, oh, that was a bit tight. And a lot of effort going into this by Eric van der Poel, and the reason why, I saw a flash in the mirror then of the reason why, and the reason why is right behind him now is Thierry Tassin. Tassin is right on his tail. He comes out very sideways there on the curb. And Tassin, with more power with the Sierra, if he can get it down on the road, somewhere like this, could come flashing through, and I'm sure will try to get himself out in front. With the sparsity of traffic that is about, anybody who is out there in front has only got the wiper to clear the screen and no spray coming up from what is now not quite as much rain as we had. And Van der Poel is getting in all sorts of horrid angles there. As you can see, the results of this carnage, cars being pushed away. There's one of the Fords, that's the number 5 car, the Jolly Club car, that's the other Jolly Club car. Both of them out of the race. Both the Jolly Club cars then out of the race. Here's Eric van der Poel leading the race here at Zolder. Round 9 of the 1988 European Touring Car Championship. With van der Poel in the lead, but coming up fast. And looking for a way through. Tassin is through and in the lead. So Thierry Tassin now leads. Thierry Tassin leads with the Luigi Racing Cosworth. Van der Poel in second place. More cars stopped on the left of your picture there. Here is the Nissan with the front taped up. We saw involved in that incident earlier on, and there is Klaus Ludwig. And Ludwig is moving up now, I reckon, to third place right now. We said he was about third, he is third now. It was the Nissan actually got out and got past him when he came out of the pits. But the Ford, which has got a more peaky engine, more difficult to drive, and you can look there at the way that screen has missed it up on the Nissan. How Alan Grice can see anything, I don't know. But it's still pretty slippery. Down a gear. It's understeer again. He's going straight on over the grass. And a further battering there for the car. And the underneath gets a fair battering. That is one of the BMWs going through. It's the sole surviving Begazi car. And Ludwig now is trying to unlap himself from the leader. He's caught and passed van der Poel and is trying to get past Thierry Tassin to get himself onto the same lap, but still in third place. Off-course excursion, and here is that effort now to take a lap back. Very close, very tight, whoops. And in trouble there, in trouble over the grass, a tremendous battering. The front of the car there took a tremendous battering there. Klaus Ludwig could quite easily have damaged the car. The damage we reported to you that was done by the Nissan in the earlier accident has seen the demise of Steve Soper. Here now is the Nissan following the Begazi BMW, Jean-Michel Martin, Winnie Vogt, and that is Martin spinning it. Aim for where it was, and it won't be there when you get there. Well, in fact, Alan had to steer around it. Well, it's all happening here as in comes the number 2 Ford, and that's the Steve Soper car, and that I said was in trouble. It is in trouble. That's a retirement. Here's Roberto Ravaglia. There is Thierry Tassin. This is a normal stop for him, and here is Ravaglia about to take over now the car that van der Poel has driven so well, and when it came into the pits it was in second place. The car was in second place when it came into the pits. Now this is all a battle of tyres, and definitely getting the better of that is Ravaglia. The Tassin car still out there, but now in the hands of Jean-Claude Androuet. Jean-Claude Androuet, French driver, bags of experience. I wouldn't expect him to be quite as fast as Thierry Tassin, but he's still there in the lead. Up and down. But Roberto Ravaglia now, in fact, in second place. No, in first place, because the Ford has gone in for a quick stop. The Ford has gone in to change a tyre. He had a punctured tyre. And that has seen the lead change. And it started to rain again. It is raining again as Pierre Dieudonné, now at the wheel of number 3, is having to contend with a very wet track indeed. Ravaglia is on the grass, Ravaglia is off the road. That's how wet it is, and that car will be in, you can be sure, for a changeover onto wet. So we're going all through the same thing all over again. Having had a scheduled stop, got off wets onto dries, now they're going to have to go back onto wets again, and that's Winnie Vogt losing it there, getting it back together, not a complete spin, in the car that Jacques Lafitte will also take over. And that, I think, is going to be when they have the pit stop, any minute now. There's the Ford. The Dagmar Suster 1-2. Another Toyota gets back onto the circuit. Here is Pierre Dodonné. Dodonné coming out of the pits, having changed onto wets. And here is Roberto Ravaglia. Roberto Ravaglia on wet tyres now. He had that moment which wasn't too serious as we saw. And as the leaders have all changed now onto wet tyres, he is back in the lead. That's Ford number 15 there coming out as the Armin Hahne car goes through and almost clips one of the Toyotas there. Not the leading car, it's the other Luigi racing car. Number 15 that came out of the pits. And here is number 3 Ford. You can see a dry line emerging where these huge tyres, in fact, wear it away. But Ravaglia leads, Dodonné in second place, Tassin third, Lafitte fourth, Hahne fifth, and Müller with the Toyota Supra now up to 6th place. And Tassin has retaken back the wheel of number 14 Ford that was in the lead when they came in to change onto wet tyres. But there is Ravaglia in the lead with the BMW M3. The M3 BMW has now been around for 2 years. It's its 2nd season, and this is the re-homologated package. It's a 5 or 6-speed box now. They've reduced the weight a little bit more. There's a choice of tyres. The engine develops a bit more power, a bit more torque, and they've changed the aerodynamics a bit. But it's still not a match for the Ford in absolute terms of speed. On some circuits, however, they do get very close, and here, with the weather conditions, is definitely one of them. It won the World Touring Car Championship last year. It looks like winning the ETC this. As towards us in the lead comes Ravaglia, really now into the very final stages of this race, with galloping up on him at a tremendous pace, Pierre Dodonné. And as we said, it really has been the tortoise in the hare, because Roberto hasn't put a foot wrong since he changed onto wet tyres after that brief spin. He's been very, very careful, but Dodonné is giving it everything that the Ford has got. And the experienced 42-years-old Belgian is closing that gap hand over fist. Here he comes towards us now. Pierre Dodonné, the 1976 European Touring Car Championship winner of the first round of the championship this year, a journalist, an engineer and racing driver, and very successful at all three. And the leading car into its final laps, as here we see Jacques Lafitte. Lafitte, no clutch, no windscreen wiper, in 3rd place and about to lose it to Thierry Tassin. Jacques Lafitte soldiering on there in a very lame car indeed. He's now back to 4th, and my guess is that he's going to end up probably even behind Armin Hahne. But more rain pouring down as they're off now into their final couple of laps or so. And here is Peter Obendorfer trying to do the same thing, trying to get past Lafitte, but gets himself into a very wicked little snake there. And this is the last lap. There is the leading car. There is the 2nd place car. Roberto Ravaglia, I think, has got just enough to do it, but look how close the Ford has come to him. It could still change on the line, but on the line, there they are. Ravaglia wins. The Ford in 2nd place, keeping the championship open. Winning, of course, his class. Jacques Lafitte goes through, no wipers working. The Armin Hahne car finishes its 1st race this year, and these are the results. Ravaglia and Poele, Dodonné and Byler, Tassin and Drouet, Lafitte, Martin, Hahne, Obendorfer. Peter Obendorfer there you saw on that last lap sort of decided against going past Lafitte, Stajcek and Müller. The top 6 then here at Zolder. And I'm not too sure that it isn't Eric van der Poel's birthday, but certainly, as Roberto takes a very welcome cigarette after the end of that one, it really was a nail-biter. And this was really very much a team win. A superb drive by Van der Poel, the right decision by Charlie Lamb to change the tyres. Here is the presentation. Here are the Eggenberger boys coming at Frank Byler. A fine drive there by Frank Byler with that car. Not quite able, unfortunately, to catch up with him, Pierre Dodonné. And Thierry Tassin also coming up with Jean-Claude André, the third man. But it really was also a wonderful drive by Jacques Lafitte in those closing stages. The battered Nissan retard, I can't remember whether we had time to tell you about that. Here are the cups going to Ravaglia and to Eric van der Poel. Van der Poel gets his first. Now Ravaglia gets his. As we go down into the paddock and Joe talks to Eric van der Poel.
Yes, I really very happy because in the beginning we know that Ford is very fast here because there is long straight and right straight, not in the corner. Then the power can go and we have small problem in the straight. We lose so much time and with the rain also we had a small problem with the tires because the Yokohama was a little bit difficult here and we lost more time in the rain than in the dry. But for the championship for Roberto it's fantastic. It's not yet finished but I think it's very good for him.
So you're going to Silverstone and hope to repeat it?
I don't know, but I know then Ford is is very very fast in Silverstone and maybe like last year in the rain or maybe one small problem in the team, Eggenberger, and we have a good chance because Schnitzer is so good in the pits and for the strategy of the course, they have so much experience and I think we are the right team.
Well, right team or not, these are the championship positions. 294, Roberto Ravaglia. 275, Dodone. Soper on 250. Van der Poel, Jacques Lafitte and Niedwitz. Now, what has to happen is that Ravaglia would have to finish lower than third in the last two events, and Dodone would have to win them if he was to take the championship. But here, let's have a last look at 26 years old Eric van der Poel on a full lap of this very difficult circuit here at Zolder, in the rain, in the M3 BMW. Van der Poel down through the box there, into this left-hander, feeds the power on, balances the car beautifully on the throttle there, and uses basically the steering wheel more or less to start the turn in, but thereafter uses it to balance himself on throttle control. You can see how often, in fact, the front wheels are pointing to the direction of travel. A real team performance by Schnitzer in the European Touring Car Championship 1988.